Happy Black History Month. This is Del K. Brereton, and this is the real spiel. Happy Black History Month. But is it really? Come on, work for me, phone. Is it really? Is it really a Happy Black History Month? I want to wait for this Black History Month. I want to wait to talk about this. I said, let me see if it'll hold. Let me see if it'll hold. Boy, it is cold in Toronto today. Again, my camera want to be spinning all over the place. But I want to say Happy Black History Month to all of us. It's a difficult thing to still be black in the West, to be an African, to be an Afro-Hamitic person. Still tough in these streets, baby. Still tough in these streets. Still tough in these streets. How are you? How are you, Yvonne? I see you. Yolanda, I see you. We get that name right. Bulungini, I see you. Bulungini, I see you. Happy Black History Month. Happy Black History Month. Happy Black History Month. But is it really? Is it Black History Month in Florida? Is it Black History Month in Florida right now? Really, is it? Governor DeSantis, is it Black History Month in Florida right now? Huh? In a state that says it can't teach African American studies. Is it Black History Month there? What are we going to talk about in Florida this month? Is it Black History Month in Memphis? Is the Tyre Nichols family celebrating Black History Month? Are those 5 officers who participated in the demise of one of their brothers, are they celebrating Black History Month today? Are their families celebrating Black History Month? Are there lawyers? Is there police association? So, let's have the conversation. Let's have the conversation. One of the things that is good about, if I can start the conversation, because that is what the thumbnail is about, with these young men who were enforcing the laws of the city of Memphis and came across Tyre Nichols that night. One of the things that is good is that we're not talking about racism. We are not talking about racism. We're not talking about racially motivated violence against us in this particular instance. We're talking about police brutality. We're talking about systemic things, though, that I will bring up to you. Now, remember, just for those who've never seen this show before, who've never been here, thank you for all my subscribers and my followers. Don't write it down, but jotitdown.com. Adonai Skincare, Al Katani the Spice Man, and all of my Cyclopses, Earth, Wind, Fire, and Spirit. Bless you and thank you very much for being part of this movement and conversation. But since we're not having a conversation about, again, racism, I want to remind you that I'm an ex-policeman. And so when I look at that video that many of us have seen and some of you have not, of a very, very hard, tough police stop of a young man who I'm not 100% sure why they stopped him or what was the need to stop him. But we joined it in the midst of a struggle to detain him and to arrest him. As a policeman, I'm looking at it much differently than most of you. And so there's highs and lows that some of you are going to have who listen to me about this. But I hope you trust me as you've trusted me in the past to give you an unbiased perspective, even though it may seem that I'm biased because I was a policeman and still part of my police association, still will be collecting a police pension. That was a very difficult traffic stop. And what we know is we have essentially 6 black men, I think 5 officers plus the deceased, Mr. Nichols engaged in a scuffle, essentially with those officers trying to handcuff him. Now, for those who have never really tried to do so, handcuffing somebody who is unwilling to be handcuffed is not the easiest thing in the world. The ergonomics of a handcuff and pulling a man's hands behind his back, I'm a relatively big person. I'm not the easiest guy to handcuff just when I'm compliant. I have very big wrists, so most handcuffs barely fit around my wrists, even when I'm compliant, when I'm perfectly still. It is a very difficult task for one person to handcuff me, to place my arms behind my back with the width of my chest, the flexibility of my shoulders, and to handcuff me. It's not the easiest thing to do, right? When I'm compliant, when I'm just standing there still, right? So, this gentleman wasn't extremely big, apparently, but he wasn't little, and he clearly wasn't weak. He was successful in preventing 5 grown men from putting handcuffs on him for a considerable period of time. For a considerable period of time, it was very difficult to put handcuffs on that boy. And that's where this whole conversation begins. For those who don't understand the capacity of what a police officer is allowed to do, when a police officer is detaining you or suspending your civil rights, there is a use of force model that they're allowed to facilitate in order to arrest you, to perfect an arrest. They are allowed to go by empty hands. So therefore, they can grab you, they can push you, they can hold you, they can slap you, and they can even punch you. And given the circumstances, even kick you, given the circumstances. These are all part of the use of force model that are considered to be empty hands. So no weapons required. They're using their hands or their feet. They're using their natural body to effect the stopping of the commission of a crime, or to detain an actively resistant or a resistant person. Then they can go up in their level of force. If that is not successful, because a police officer doesn't have to stay at the same level of force. If you're stronger than them, they don't have to be stronger than you. They can always upgrade their level of force. So the next level of force that I saw happen was they went to pepper spray, and they sprayed him with pepper spray. And the problem with pepper spray is cross-contamination. The officer who most of us were seeing the beginning of the incursion with Mr. Nichols, he was cross-contaminated with pepper spray, and he had to leave. He had to back up. He had to catch his breath, and he was also extremely tired, right? Probably not in the best of shape. I don't know what they do out there in Memphis when they sit in those police cars, but it's probably not push-ups and plyometrics. So my brother was not in the best of shape. He was extremely tired. He took a rest. It was clear that he was coughing and he had been contaminated with pepper spray, because pepper spray, even if somebody sprays it on you, the splashback, it's in the air, you're going to get contaminated too. It's going to hit you too, right? Which is why a lot of officers, don't want to mess with pepper spray if they're extremely sensitive, because they can spray somebody and they're going to get it too, at least a little bit of it. And so the pepper spray seemed to, work for a minute, but my guy kept fighting through the pepper spray, kept going. That officer who was cross-contaminated, he comes back to the scene, and now he's upset. Now this is where we get a scenario. His emotions are in this. He's feeling like he's battling for his own safety potentially. I don't know. I'm not in his brain, but just throwing that out there potentially. He also feels disrespected. This guy is not allowing him to arrest him. He's mad. His pride is there. He's got all these different things probably going through his head, and he pulls out his next level of force. He pulls out his baton. Right now, at the time he pulls out his baton, Nichols is on the ground. They're still wrestling with him, but he's not handcuffed. That's not what I saw. I did not see him handcuffed. He was not handcuffed. This guy comes back. They've got him, but he's not handcuffed, and he's still fighting. So he's like, tells the other guys to clear out, because he pulls out his baton, which is a metal retractable stick that you can swing that, boy. You could break a baseball bat in half if you know how, right? You can definitely break bones with it. Now, what you're told is you cannot hit to the head. Can't hit nobody in the head with that thing, but you can hit the arms, you can hit the legs, you can hit anything else, but you can't hit the head. And so what I saw on the ground is he struck him on the arm a couple of times. It didn't seem like it did a lot, but I know it hurt, but it didn't seem like it did a lot. But when you have adrenaline and all those things going, a blow like that initially, we're watching it, and for us it's like, ooh, that's pretty vicious. But for the people involved and for the assailant involved, he's got a lot of adrenaline. He's feeling like he's fighting for his life. The young fella called for his mom earlier, and so it didn't seem like that slowed him down. And after those couple of hits, this is when it becomes objectionable. One officer now, seeing those two strikes, the other officer kicks him in the head. Now we have a problem. This is the first time for me that a problem begins. With everything that I saw up to that time, until that officer kicks him in the head a couple of times, to me, that's when you have a real problem. Because you have a guy on the ground and you're kicking him in the head. You know, he's not hurting you, but you're not able to subdue him. So he's not hurting you. You're not able to subdue him. Your use of force model would tell you that you're now at the place where somebody's striking him with a baton. This guy's not dangerous to you. Kicking him in the head is, to me, it's out of bounds. They stand him up collectively. They're all strong enough to do that, but they just can't get this guy handcuffed. They stand him up. Another officer decides, I'm just going to punch this guy a couple times in the face and knock him out. Now, again, a kick in the head, on the ground, no. A couple of punches in the face, now that's something they're allowed to do. But they go too far and hit this guy way too hard, right? Hit him probably way too much. And the grand total of everything that they've done to him causes him to expire, to die. And so what you have here is you have a judge now with lawyers going to have to sit down and dissect this thing frame by frame by frame, right? Frame by frame by frame. They're going to have to dissect it. Now, this is my issue. Where's the taser? Now, thank you for bringing that up. A taser would have put all of this thing to rest. How is the Memphis Police Department, and I don't know if those officers had it or didn't, but a taser would have put this to rest very, very easily. And please understand me when I'm talking to you guys right now. I'm the last person to ever say a 5 black men should beat to death another brother. I'm the last guy that's going to say that. I'm talking about how policing is done and how policing is measured, how these officers are been given the right to take away people's civil rights and have been given the right to use force. That's their job. That's what they've been given the right to do. They have constraints to it, but they also have weapons, and they also have a model of training. What they're missing is the taser. A taser would have saved that kid's life. That's my position with that. The issue with the Memphis Police Department, in my opinion, yes, those 5 brothers, one of them I think was a little bit out of bounds, which was the guy kicking him in the head. I think the rest of them were absolutely within their use of force. I believe they are, based on what I just explained to you. But a taser would have saved his life. And I'm telling you, we don't know if the 2 kicks in the head killed him. We don't know if the punches killed him. We don't know what killed him, because he died, they said, a couple of days later, right? From all of the, massive abuse of just being handled in that way. We know he shouldn't have died. We know 100%. He had you don't die. You shouldn't die for a traffic stop. We understand the whole context of, resisting arrest and policing our own. I always say that black people should police black people, and this is one of the occasions where that test proved to be deadly. But a taser, if that police department has had a taser, if one of those 5 officers had a taser, this would have been a done deal. Now, a lot of you, don't understand, if that was 5 white cops fighting with that kid, that guy probably would have been shot dead. Probably would have been shot dead. This is something that you got to think about. These brothers were not afraid of him to the point they have to pull their guns and shoot him. He wasn't an unarmed black man shot. It was an unarmed black man arrested by police, 5 black officers. He was not shot. He was wrestled to the ground. Some of them, I think, went past the use of force model in respect to kicking him in the head. The guy with the baton hit him in the arm. The guy who punched him in the face, that's going to be the metric. How excessive was it? Did you need to punch him 2 times? Did you need to continue to punch? All these things, that's for a judge to decide. Is punching somebody allowed in the use of force model? Yes, it is, as a policeman. Should that young man have died by a police stop with 5 men? Absolutely not. It shouldn't have taken 5 cops to arrest one guy. It really shouldn't have. It shouldn't have. I don't know. I don't know if they, I'm not there. I'm not there on the scene. I'm not there at the time. When a guy's hands are too big to be handcuffed, you strip tie him. You strip tie him in the front. You do something else. The desire to get his hands behind his back and to handcuff him was the antecedent to cause more force. However, that's their process of handcuffing. If they're in court and a lawyer says, why didn't you try to handcuff him in the front? They'd say, that's not how we're trained. We're not trained to handcuff people in the front. That's what they would say, and they'd be justified to do it. You got to understand the onus is going to be on Tyre Nichols on why he resisted arrest, and on the officers as why they pulled him over. That's going to be the initial onus. Why did they pull him over? Why did he resist arrest? And then what did these officers do once he was compromised? This is going to be tough because they're not going to be able to stand on the back of racism and police violence against black people. They're not going to be able to do that. And those officers didn't wake up in the morning and said, hey, let's go kill a black man today, right? That's going to be the tough part of this. And I think it's really the ill-equipping of a Memphis police department not to have a taser that has this gentleman dead, more than these officers who could not arrest one black man. And that's the unfortunate conversation of today in respect to Black History Month. Why are black officers, why are black areas still ill-equipped to have the right equipment to police, to save lives? To me, a taser would have saved his life, and it would have saved the lives of these 5 guys who are about to go through hell in the next little while because they killed somebody when their job is to serve and to protect, right? So I don't know what you guys got to say. I know, there's a whole lot of comments here. The savage snatching out of the car was already a problem. No, you got it. I don't know how else would you take a man out of the car? Like, you guys, I want you guys to put yourself in the position of police. It's going to be hard for you to do it. It's going to be hard for you to do it, but it's you got to put yourself in the position of a policeman who's supposed to be enforcing the law. Listen, black people are never going to be pro-police, not in America, right? You're never going to be pro-police, not in America. But this is a time where you have the ability to basically evaluate the police officer and not put race in it, and look at what was taking place. Nobody wants to see a brother die being pulled over by police. Nobody wants to see that. But when you're evaluating what is taking place with police officers, and I told you guys, I think on my last video, you're not going to like what I got to say about this. I've had conversations with my other brothers too, and on the police force, black guys on the police force, and they're like, they're agreeing with me. That's tough because you're trying to arrest a guy who's your job to arrest, right? He's actively resisting. You're trying to contain your emotions at the same time. Pride. Listen, it's a lot. There was a lot going on in that film. There was a lot going on. I watched a lot. He never resisted, so I guess you didn't watch the video correctly. You need to watch it again. So let's figure out what resisting is, right? Fighting back is resisting. Somebody trying to grab your hand and you stopping them from doing it, that's also considered to be resisting. So him not allowing them to handcuff, which is what I saw early. He had his hands tucked underneath at first. They were trying to get his hands behind his back. That will be considered resisting. In court, that will be considered to be resisting arrest. He wasn't actively fighting them, I agree. He was resisting to be arrested. He was asking, why am I being arrested? Why? These are the things that are going to be evaluated in court, right? And again, we don't have to sit back and have a conversation about race anymore with this conversation. We can take that one off the table, right? Unless somebody brings something to the table that says these guys somehow are racially motivated. All 5 of these black officers are racially motivated. They're going to take that up. We can take that off the table. What I want to put on the table is, why is a police force equipped with black men not able to just have a taser, not able to have the proper equipment, so that a guy like that, you just tase him, the taser would have paralyzed him. You would have been able to arrest him easily with a taser. Pepper spray is just going to make a guy, and a lot of guys can handle the pepper spray. A lot of guys can take a beating at the time, and we saw that. This guy took a hell of a beating and didn't quit. But at the end of the day, these 5 guys couldn't put handcuffs on him. That's what I saw. That's what I was looking at. I looked at it a couple times. I'll look at it again. Oh my gosh, homeless guys on the street. Wow. Yeah, so I know you guys are mad at me, but I'm not trying to hurt nobody. I'm just trying to tell you how it looks. They ran up on him on the car, barking commands. Are you trying to say they dragged him out of the car, telling him to put his hands? Listen, police officers, we know how they bark out commands. They're not gonna say, they're not gonna arrest you nicely. A lot of times, we know that wasn't going to be a nice arrest. They weren't going to arrest him nicely. It wasn't going to be a slow arrest. It wasn't going to be that. All you guys talking about unsubscribe, let's have a conversation. You're going to have to have it. You're going to have it. Because when this goes to court and it goes left, you're going to say, what happened? I'm giving you the ideas and the understanding of how it's going to be put, how it's going to look. A judge is going to have to decide, what were these officers trained to do? What is within their rights to do? And how actively resistant is this young boy, right? And, the Memphis Police Department did what they're supposed to do. I believe they suspended all these guys, or I don't think they're fired. I don't think they're allowed to fire people right from the get-go. But they absolutely put them on suspension, and this thing has to go to court. But it's not a good way to celebrate the coming in of Black History Month, knowing that now we don't have to just worry about and think about, being killed by white men with weapons. We have to think about even forces that have black people policing black people. They don't have the capacity to properly police. I don't know these gentlemen to know if they had malice. I don't know anything of, I don't know them. I don't know Tyre. I don't know. I'm just looking at what I'm watching, what I'm looking at. And I was a policeman for 13 years. I used to do that training. I used to do the training. I used to be the use of force guy doing the training. So I'm watching it and I understand it. I had a scenario in my own situation where a guy came at me with a sword. I had a gun ready to shoot him in the head. Me, right? He was a mentally ill man. I would have been perfectly within my rights to shoot him. Perfectly within my rights to shoot him. I decided not to do that. We arrested him, right? How did I arrest him without my gun? I knocked him out cold. Knocked him out cold. He had a sword. So there's a scenario here where, there is going to be force used when you're perfecting an arrest. And when I'm looking at that time, I'm looking like this young man shouldn't have died, man. These guys had the capacity to taser him. When I was working, we didn't even have tasers at the time. And this is why I can speak on it. It makes arresting somebody that much more difficult when you're not trying to utilize lethal force. Those guys weren't trying to use lethal force on him. It turned out that he died, but they weren't trying to use lethal force. They weren't trying to kill him, but they eventually did. And I think personally, it's because of the lack of equipment that the Memphis Police Department had. If I was their lawyer, that's what I would be saying. I would say this is not an issue of police brutality. This is an issue where policemen are not equipped properly by their police force. Sue the hell out of the Memphis police, right? Sue the hell out of the Memphis police for not having the right equipment to arrest somebody. But what I'm looking at, man, I'm looking at something that it's going to be a very hard day in court to put all of those guys in jail. The only guy that I saw who absolutely did something way out of bounds was the guy who kicked him in the head. That's the dude who is way out of bounds. He didn't need to, because he was already being held by his other officers. He wasn't attacking him. There was no need to do that. But everything else, you're going to have a very hard time convicting those guys. I know you're upset with me. I know you're mad. But these are the things that we have to discuss as a community. If we have a society, a nation of black people, and black people only run our nation, right? We're going to have a conversation about force. We're going to have a conversation about use of force. We're going to have a conversation about how do black people police black people. Cops are still going to kill black people sometimes, because if you have a nation of blacks, it happens in every black nation right now. So we have a discussion about policing and a discussion about how do we police ourselves. That's a discussion, right? And we have to have it, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take a look at what you guys are saying. I know you're mad at me. I know you're upset. Well, I don't think he was the aggressor. They painted the victim as the aggressor. I don't think he was the aggressor. I just think he was not allowing himself to be arrested, right? And I said, I don't know when you guys came in, I said, if I stood here and let you guys just put handcuffs on me and I didn't fight hard, it would be very difficult to put handcuffs on me. I'm not that flexible. I'm a big person. I got big wrists. It's not easy to handcuff somebody and who's compliant. It's not easy to handcuff everybody who's compliant. Handcuffing a guy who's not compliant, who's relatively strong, able to keep his arms down, it's not as easy as you think. Said the paperwork is dirty. We want to know what film you're talking about. Okay, so the film I saw was the body cam of the officer who used his baton. That's the body cam I saw. So I saw it from the time he was fighting him. He had his hands under himself. The officer tried to pull his arms out. They couldn't. They got up. They pepper sprayed him. And then one of the cops who was body cam that I saw, that police officer, he was contaminated. He walked away. I don't see what's going on for a while with the video I'm watching. He walks away. He's coughing. He's wheezing. Then he comes back, pulls out his billy club, and starts to hit him, I believe on the right arm. He hits him twice on the right arm, right? And then as he hits him twice, another officer kicks him in the head twice. That's where I said, that's where the big problems begin. So that's the video I saw. Then there's another a video of it showing it from another angle. It comes off of this gentleman's body cam, and they stand him up, and another cop hits him in the head twice, and that was it. He was out. As he gets knocked out, they handcuff him. That's the video that I see. I saw that combination of video. It was a newsreel that I saw, and I can post it. I can find it and post it here. But that's the one I saw. I'll post it for everybody to take a look at. But it's a real discussion, because black people should police themselves, so we don't have to have the race conversation. Black communities should have black officers, should have black chiefs of police. We should police ourselves with a community policing attitude, right? If those cops had a better relationship with him, could have been different too, right? He wouldn't have fought, he wouldn't have resisted, or they wouldn't have felt the need to go that hard on them. We have so much to deal with. But this, again, I said this before and I'll say it again, this one is family business. It's Black History Month. And if black people can't have an honest conversation about how police are supposed to deal with them, then we have a problem, right? You guys are running by, I'm going to unsubscribe, I'm going to this and that. I'm not telling you the boy deserves to die. I'm not telling you that. But I'm saying that from an expert position, if I'm looking at that, right? And I'm talking about all 5 officers. From the video I saw, only one guy did something very, very wrong. Only one. The guy who punched him which is the guy kicking him. The guy who punches him in the head, I have to ask him questions. After you punched him the first time, what was his condition? Right? He was out. Then why'd you punch him again? After you punched him the first time, what was his condition? He was still fighting us. So I decided to punch him again. When you punched him the second time, what happened? I saw that he was out. I stopped. We arrested him. It's empty hands. He's not using a weapon. He's dealing with an actively resistant guy. So what I suggest some of us go and do is we Google what's called the use of force model, the policing use of force model. The use of force model shows how a police officer is supposed to elevate his force. When the victim, or in this case, a victim, but a person they're arresting, when they raise their force, you can raise yours. And when their force goes down, your force goes down. It's a wheel. So it's a tough conversation, man. That I have kids that boy's age. Like, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see a young black man being killed by police, especially black cops, because now what's the conversation going to be? Well, you black cops kill black people too. What you got to say about that? They're going to say that. They're going to have that conversation with us. We got to own it, right? And we got to start having better conversations about how do black populations police each other. Remember, my dominant point here, if there was a taser involved, the kid would never have died. Never have died. They could have tased him and when he's paralyzed, when he's not going to move it anymore because of the taser, you handcuff him. Why wasn't there not a taser in the Memphis police force? Is the Memphis police force properly funded in order that their officers have tasers? Or is it poorly funded? That's the conversation we need to have, right? And that's the conversation in a black community conversation that we need to have. You're not allowed to use deadly force punching is not deadly force. Okay? Punching is not deadly force, Ralph G. And no deadly force was used. The only deadly force that they would have been able to say was a gun. I'm not the only one who can give an assessment. I'm just giving mine, right? I'm just giving mine. Dressed in my nursing badge uniform, the officers lied in their reports. I won my case. I was afraid. Yeah, I know. Listen, I have never been pulled over by policemen in America, right? Police over here, they're not as wild, but I can imagine. They tased him twice. Did they? If they tased him twice, Mr. Filoni, did they tase him twice? Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know they tased him. The video I watched, I never saw him tased. No, punching is not deadly force. If the person is handcuffed, you can't punch him at all, but he was never handcuffed, is my point. That's what I saw. He was never handcuffed until they knocked him out. I did not see him tased, right? I did not see him tased. I was watching it, and I did not see him tased. I was looking, though. Let me get out of here. This policeman's looking at me too hard. I did not see him tased at all. I did not see him tased, ladies and gentlemen. What I saw, there was no taser involved, right? And like I said, we're probably watching a lot of different video perspectives, but I had never seen him tased. I never saw him tased. I don't think he was tased, and I've never even seen the picture. They've never even posted a picture of the white officer. I know there was a white officer involved. They didn't even post his picture. They did tase him. All 4 videos are linked to my community tab. I was on the first. Okay. Yep. Then how? If they tased him, how come they couldn't handcuff the brother when they tased him? Wow. I didn't see him tased, man. I was watching, like I said, I watched my video 5 times, and I took a time to watch it because I didn't want to come on here because I was like, oh, these people ain't gonna like what I got to say right now. But I never saw him tased. The white cop tased him close to his heart. He fell down from that. That's how they got on top of him. And I don't understand why they didn't keep tasing him until they could actually arrest him. Then you watch a film of something else. They did show the white cop's picture. I didn't see the tase at the beginning. I did not. I watched it a few times. The video that I saw, it was a news video, and I watched it. I saw the police officer, and I saw the higher end video. I'm gonna look at it again, right? I'm gonna give you guys that. I'm gonna look at it one more time and evaluate it again but I've never seen him tased. How are you? Yeah, I didn't see him tased. But the tase, I want to know what the autopsy said he died of too, because the way he was punched in the head definitely could have died from that. The kick in the head could have died from that. Many guys don't die from a taser. Someone dies after the beating. It's not clear. Many of us have experienced. How are you? Good. Wait, what's that? Okay. Thank you. I'll deal with it. Thank you very much. I'll see you later. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry that you guys are disappointed in me. I looked at it. I was looking at it very deeply. I was trying to figure out what the heck happened with these brothers. But what I saw was I saw 5 young men who could not arrest one dude. And I was like, why couldn't they just tase him? That's what I was looking at. I didn't see a taser. I couldn't understand why they could not physically contain him. This kid is stronger than he looks, clearly, because they couldn't get his hands behind his back. Hey guys, good morning. So let me take a look at it again, and let me get back to you. And if you unsubscribe, you ain't gonna see my follow-up. Love you guys. Again, I don't know if it's a happy Black History Month in Memphis. I know it's not a Black History Month in Florida, but let's see. I'm gonna take one more look at it and go from there. All right, bye-bye.